Let's talk about compressors and compression. There's three things that compressors control. First and foremost is dynamic range. The second thing a compressor can control is the coloration of a sound source. There's four things inside a compressor that can impact its tonal characteristics on a sound source. First and foremost is its typology, what type of compressor it is. If it's a Vari-Mu compressor, it uses tubes to control the gain reduction. If it's an optical compressor, it uses light bulbs. If it's a FET compressor, it uses a transistor. And if it's a voltage control amplifier, VCA compressor, it also uses a transistor. Next would be the rest of the components that are used inside that compressor. Transformers. Big transformers, like found in a Fairchild, will have an impact and help create a robust low end, where transformers that are smaller, like ones found in 1176, increase a little mid-range punch. The third thing is the compressor's attack and release settings. Not every compressor gives us, the user, the ability to dial in the exact attack and release settings that we want. And last is the side chain or detector circuit. Now, you could think of those as like the ear of the compressor. It's what hears the audio coming in and then tells the compressor how to react. The third thing that it controls is depth. And it's the first thing I want you to think about when you think about compression. And that is front to back perspective. And in order to have front to back perspective, we as humans, we need comparison. So typically we relate these to different sound sources. So it might be a vocal to a snare drum. And if I'm compressing an entire mix and I'm using it to knock back the snare peaks, that's going to push that snare drum back in the mix, thus making the vocal feel like it's coming more forward.
That basically covers all of our compression basics, but for all of my friends that have hung around here, we're going to do some awesome bonus tips, and we're going to level up, because that's what we're all about when we are together here, is about really kind of nerding out and throwing down and talking a lot of fun audio. We talked about analog compressors before and how they can impart color and they have their own settings and everything else. So we're going to run through the Fab Four, if you want to think about it, the Beatles of compressors. Each one represents a different compressor typology. And I want to show you the compressor. I'm going to explain to you, a quick little fact or two about it. And then I'm going to show you how it impacts the little kind of bass and drum groove. Okay, so our Fab Four, we're inviting them to our party. And the first one to show up is going to be the life of the party. And that is the 1176, who is a FET compressor, which stands for Field Effect Transistor. It uses a transistor to handle the gain reduction, but it also has transformers in it. Smaller transformers, which make it a little more punchier and aggressive in the mid-range. We have the ability to manipulate and change the attack and release settings. For an 1176, 7 is the fastest setting and 1 is the slowest. Remember that, because I've seen people explain it backwards. We're going to stay with something basic, just 4. We do not get to control the threshold. The way we control the threshold is by driving the input. So we're going to drive up the signal in and then get the gain reduction. Now, I set all of our compressors to about 3 to 4 dB of gain reduction. I'm going to go in and out of this, pay attention to the snare drum, and listen to how this compressor changes the tone of the snare drum and then how the relationships around that change. Practice listening to that. You'll become a master at compression in no time. As advertised, it is snappy, it is aggressive, it's fast and punchy, and also it's bright. Next is an optical compressor. That is the LA2A, and that friend we can consider to be our chill storyteller, because really the one adjective that I can use to describe a Teletronics would be very silky, very smooth. So we're going to listen in bypass, and then we're going to kick it on and notice once again what it does to the sound source. Focus on that snare drum, my friends. So what did we notice with this? We noticed that it was a softer, mellower type of compression, and we ended up picking up a little bit of body. There's more body to this because we're using light bulbs to do the compression, so it has a naturally slower release. On this compressor, we do not get to determine the attack and release settings, so it has a slower attack, so it's letting more of that transient information through, and also a slower release. So you remember when we were looking at our compressor settings at the beginning of the video, we went from fast release energy to slow release smooth. This is a slow release compressor, which gives us a smoother compression. Next to the party is our VCA compressor. I'm going to consider this the socializer or the connector. A lot of you have heard the term glue before. I'm kind of over the term glue. The glue, right? Glues to mix together. It's the glue compressor.
You need to relax.
SSL has become the poster child for glue compressor. Here with this, we do get the opportunity to change a lot of the relationships here. But what I'm going to do so we can hear the compressor is I'm going to keep the side chain off, so it's going to compress everything. We're going to stay with what we were with the 1176, so about a 4-to-1. We're going to stay with a relatively slower attack, 10. We're going to go with the auto release so that we can hear how it naturally wants to release the music. And we have our threshold set to get the same amount of gain reduction as the other examples did, so that we're apples to apples to apples. So here we go. I know you were listening to that snare drum, and I know if you did, what you heard is it got a lot tighter and punchier. A lot of people say that the SSLs or these type of compressors have a signature kind of thwack kind of sound. So you can hear it adds smack. It was adding smack, and it was also tightening up the low end because the way that VCA compressors with their transistors inside are designed are very clean. So it doesn't kind of muddy up the low end of the mix. Actually, it made everything feel clean and tight. Okay, and the last to the party is Mr. Sophisticated, and that is the Fairchild. I have the unfair Fairchild, the real analog piece, and these units are a beast in real life. They're like 2 people to carry kind of things. They're just loaded with tubes and big fat transformers, so they're just monster units that just impose, a ton of, harmonic content. We hear this concept of like warmth because we get this, gentle roll off of the highs. There's a lot more body because of those big fat transformers in it, which boost the lows. So that's what makes things sound warm. You kind of, enrich the low end and roll a little bit off the top, and things start to sound pretty warm to our ear. It also has a slower attack to it. But let's enough talking. Let's kind of play through. We'll start in bypass and then kick it on. All right, so you could hear how the snare drum became very snappy. It was a different characteristic, a different tone than we heard from the other 3 compressors. There's a smooth quality to it. It didn't have that kind of pumping energy that the 1176 did. It didn't have the, kind of thwack and cleanliness, in a sense, that the glue compressor gave it. It definitely imparted its own sonic characteristic of maintaining some of that punch, but also kind of smoothing over the low and high, kind of rounding things out a little bit. So one final thing in conclusion, I will hit play and I'll actually just play against each other all the different compressors, and you can kind of get a sense of what they each do. I'll go one time through with each one. So we stepped inside and built the House of EQ, and now we are going to do our slow motion walk away. We're having a house party, and we are inviting a lot of our analog friends. I'm going to explain to you how to start understanding and thinking about some of these analog EQs. The first guest that we're going to bring in, the Pultec. We can think of the Pultec as our silky, smooth-talking, kimono-wearing friend who's, very casual, but yet also gives you a sense of sophistication. Now, what makes a passive EQ is that it uses tubes and transistors. And the EQ section doesn't rely on adding gain, but rather it uses the tubes and transistors to basically dim down the areas of, for example, a painting that you don't like and shining a warm light on the best parts of it. With the Pultec, one of the tricks that people talk about is kind of boosting and attenuating to the same frequency. You can kind of get a nice little bump at like those little crossover points. So you could hear how our smooth-talking kimono-wearing friend keeps the sound intact and yet kind of tightens it up and you know what? Keeps it kind of classy. Our next friend who is coming to the party, that is our best all-around friend. They're in, very good shape, has a fantastic job, but yet is down to earth enough where they're not trying to drink some fancy drink, but rather maybe, rocking a Stella. So Neve is a fixed band, discrete EQ. Now, it's changed over time. There's been some, I believe, that were inductor-based EQ builds by Neve, but for the most part, we're going to look at it and consider it a discrete build. Now, discrete EQ, it's built by hand. It's known to have kind of like a lot of rich harmonic content and warm mids, and that's mainly because it's using transformers. When we're using transformers, we get a lot of kind of richness, especially in the mid-range, and we get a nice tight low end. We got a nice tightening of the low end from the unit itself. And we also, via the EQ boost, we got some punch in the bass drum, tight and punchy. As you drive into discrete EQs, they can actually start to saturate and, become a little bit kind of gritty and punchy. So now moving on, let's invite our third friend to the party. And that is our motorcycle riding, scrappy, high energy, a little bit snarky, a little bit, funny friend. And that is Mr. API, the 550B. The API typology is also a discrete build, but it's what we call an op-amp discrete. So the op-amp is the component that actually uses the volume. What makes it discrete is that this EQ, like the regular discrete build, is built by hand. Going to feel fast and punchy and aggressive because of those hand-built components. What makes the API different than the Neve is the API has a tighter Q. The higher you boost it, the more pokey and pointy it gets, which is also part of why we hear the punch. Hear it in the cymbals, right? And then also, did you notice the transients became a little punchier? Now we have our party crashers. And the first is the Helios. The Helios is our friend who kind of is effortlessly cool, kind of shows up with, bedhead and has like a cool vintage jacket. The Helios is most known for like those early Zeppelin and Who records. It's punchy, it saturates. It's also a discrete build, but it uses inductors for the mid-range band. What makes the Helios different from the Neve is that the mid-range boost in the Helios, it's a tighter Q. So when you boost the mid-range in the Helios, it gets more aggressive. As you can hear from the discrete build, we're getting that nice kind of tightened up low end. And then we're not getting the cymbal grab that we did, for example, with the API. Now let's invite our next friend to the party. And that is the SSL. This is our super clean, calculated, gets things done, probably organized a party and is probably running around hosting the party. And that is the SSL. Now the SSL, its typology is also an op-amp, but it's an op-amp integrated chip, meaning that it uses a chip for its build. It's not hand-built like discrete or discrete op-amp, but rather it's kind of chip-centered, which makes it really clean and transparent, and what makes it really fast. Kind of pretty transparent, pretty similar to the Pultec. What you see is what you get. We're not getting a whole lot of extra artifacts. We're definitely not getting any secret sauce without having the EQs engaged. It's just clean, and it kind of does what you want it to do. And now our last friend to the party, and that is our friend who is probably wearing the brand new Air Jordans and the latest items that are hottest in fashion, is totally up on current trends. That is the Maag EQ, which is also an op-amp. It has fixed bands for us, but it's also going to be, kind of built the same way in SSL is, but different features and different functions. We have this air band, which is something that a lot of people, when they talk about this EQ, they focus on first. They call it kind of like the magic band, because of the lift that you can get. it makes it kind of feel modern. What it does that's similar to example the Pultec is I consider the Pultec and the Maag airbrushing EQs. We're kind of not going in and looking to be very surgical with them, but rather we are putting them on at the end and we are just airbrushing the image. I'll rifle through all these for you one last time, but before I do, today's point again is that there's no right or wrong answer, but as we've learned with being able to control EQ with different sets of parameters based on the analog modeled EQ we're using, it can tonally impact whether it's just an individual instrument source or, a mix in general. And I hope that what you found useful today was just understanding a little bit about the characteristics, the natural inherent characteristics of these EQs, that if you're going to select an analog EQ for something, that this helps give you a launching point that helps you match the vibe to the source. If you're thinking, wow, I just need, very clean, fast, transparent, and modern, you think SSL or Maag. If you're thinking, I'm looking for something that's just going to keep things feeling musical, but just gives me a little bit of a lift or a little bit of a bump here or there, that you're thinking maybe the Pultec. If you're looking for things to kind of tighten up and add a little bit of character that you can kind of push into and make things feel a little bit more gritty or make things feel, a little punchier, that you're thinking about the Helios, the API, or the Neve. So we're going to close out by just kind of rifling through our party people one more time. I would love it if you dropped in the comments below if you had a favorite EQ or if you have any questions on anything we talked about. Have fun mixing, my friend, and I will see you next time. Take care.